The alarm screamed through Hana's ship as another blast rocked the hull. Red warning lights flashed everywhere and smoke filled the air. She gripped the pilot's chair, her claws digging deep into the metal. Her ship was dying, and she knew it. "Matriarch, we must abandon ship," her pilot shouted over the noise. But there was nowhere to go. They were alone in the asteroid field, far from any help. The other ships in her convoy were already destroyed or scattered. Hana looked at the damage reports on her screen. Life support was failing. The engines were dead. Worse, the reactor was becoming unstable. They had maybe 10 minutes before the whole ship exploded. She was Hana of the Valari, leader of the strongest warrior clan in 3 star systems. She had fought in 100 battles and never lost. But today, the Corvin raiders had caught her supply convoy by surprise. They had better ships, better weapons, and more numbers. Her escort fighters had fought bravely, but it was not enough. Now she would die here, in this cold place between the stars. At least she would die fighting, as a true Valari should. "Matriarch!" the communications officer called out. "There's a ship approaching." Unknown type. Hana's eyes narrowed. "Corvin? No. Matriarch. It's very small. Just one ship. They're sending a message." "Put it through." A voice came through the speakers. It sounded strange, speaking in basic trade language. "This is salvage ship Lucky Strike. I see you're in trouble. Do you need help?" Hana stared at the screen. The ship was tiny compared to hers. It looked old and patched together from different parts. What kind of fool would approach a battle zone in such a ship? "Who are you?" she demanded. "Name's Wook. I was mining in the asteroid belt when I picked up your distress signal. Your ship looks pretty beat up. Want me to get you out of there?" Hana's pilot checked the sensors. "Matriarch, it's a human ship. Just one person aboard." "A human?" Hana had heard of them, but never met one. They were supposed to be weak, soft creatures. From a small world on the edge of known space. What was one doing here? "Human," she said into the comm. "You should leave. This area is dangerous. Corvin raiders attacked us. They might come back." "All the more reason to get you out of there fast," the human replied. "Your reactor readings don't look good. You've got maybe 8 minutes before it goes critical." 8 minutes. He was right. Hana made a quick decision. Pride was important, but survival was more important. "Very well. We accept your help." "Good. I'm coming alongside now. Get your people ready to transfer." Hana watched as the small human ship moved closer. The pilot was skilled, she had to admit. He avoided the floating debris and positioned his ship perfectly next to her damaged vessel. "Docking now," the human's voice said. "Opening the airlock." Hana moved through her ship, gathering her surviving crew. There were only 12 left from the original 30. The others had died when the Corvins breached the hull in 3 places. They reached the airlock. Just as it opened, the human stood there in a simple work suit, not even proper armor. He was smaller than she expected, with dark hair and kind eyes. He looked so ordinary. "Come on," he said, gesturing for them to enter his ship. "We need to move fast." Hana's crew hesitated. Valari warriors did not like small spaces, and they did not trust strangers. But their matriarch had given the order, so they obeyed. As the last of her people crossed over, alarms began sounding even louder on Hana's ship. The reactor was failing faster than expected. "Wait," the human said. "Someone's still aboard." "No," Hana replied. "We are all here." But the human was checking his scanner. "Life signs in Section 7. Someone's trapped." Hana looked at her crew and counted again. One was missing. Kato, her youngest warrior. "He must have been knocked unconscious in the lower decks." "Leave him," one of her warriors said. "We cannot risk everyone for one person." But the human was already moving. "Not leaving anyone behind," he said, grabbing a portable breathing unit. "Get your people secured. I'll be right back." Before anyone could stop him, he was running back through the airlock onto Hana's dying ship. Foolish human, Hana growled, but part of her was amazed. No one risked their life for a stranger like this. Even among her own people, such sacrifice was rare. Minutes passed. The reactor warnings grew more urgent. Hana's crew urged her to leave, but she found herself waiting. Why was she waiting for this strange human? Then she saw them. The human was carrying young Kato, who was barely conscious. They stumbled through the debris-filled corridor as the ship shook around them. A support beam broke loose above them. Without thinking, the human threw himself over Kato, taking the full impact on his back. Hana heard him cry out in pain, but he kept moving. They reached the airlock just as the ship's computer announced, "Reactor critical! Explosion in 30 seconds!" The human pushed Kato through the airlock and collapsed. Blood was spreading across his back where the beam had hit him. Hana grabbed both of them and pulled them into the salvage ship. "Go! Go!" she shouted to the human's ship computer. The ship's engines fired, pushing them away from the dying vessel. Through the viewports, they watched as Hana's ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The human was unconscious now, breathing but badly hurt. Hana knelt beside him, not understanding the strange feeling in her chest. This weak-looking creature had risked everything to save one of her warriors. He had taken a blow that could have killed him to protect someone he had never met. Among the Valari, such an act created a life debt, the most sacred of all obligations. This human had given her back her life and the life of her warrior. By the ancient laws of her people, she now owed him everything. But more than that, she was curious. What kind of people were these humans? What made them willing to sacrifice for strangers? She had never seen anything like it. As she tended to his wounds with her ship's medical supplies, Hana made a silent promise. She would learn about this human named Wook, and somehow she would repay the debt she owed him, even if it took the rest of her life. Wook woke up slowly, feeling like he had been hit by a cargo hauler. His back ached, and there was something wrong with his left arm. When he tried to sit up, gentle but strong hands pushed him back down. "Do not move, human. You are injured." He opened his eyes and saw the alien woman sitting beside his bed. She was tall and impressive, with silver-blue skin and eyes like liquid metal. Her hair was white as starlight, pulled back in a warrior's knot. This had to be the leader of the ship he had rescued. "Where am I?" he asked. "Medical Bay on Kepler Station. You have been unconscious for 3 days." 3 days? Wook tried to remember what happened. The rescue, the explosion, the pain in his back when that beam fell. "Are your people okay? The young one who was trapped?" The alien woman studied his face carefully. "Kato is fine. All my warriors survived because of you. I am Hana of the Valari." "Nice to meet you, Hana. I'm Wook." He tried to sit up again, and this time she didn't stop him. The pain was manageable. "So we made it to Kepler Station?" "Yes. My people have ships there. We brought you here for medical treatment." Hana paused, then said something that sounded formal and important. "Human Wook, by the ancient laws of my clan, I owe you a life debt. You saved my life and the life of my warrior. Name your price, and it will be paid." Wook blinked. "My price? I don't want anything. I just did what anyone would do." Hana's metal eyes widened. "What anyone would do? You risked your life for strangers. You took injury to protect one of my people. This is not what anyone would do." "Well, maybe not anyone," Wook admitted. "But it was the right thing to do. You were in trouble, so I helped. That's all?" "That's all?" Hana repeated the words like she was trying to understand a foreign concept. "Among my people, life debts are sacred. When someone saves your life, you owe them service until the debt is paid, usually with money, ships, or weapons." Wook shook his head. "I don't need any of that stuff. I'm just a salvage operator. I have my ship, I have my work, I'm fine. For the next hour, Hana tried to explain Valari culture to him. She told him about honor, duty, and the shame of unpaid debts. She offered him credits, rare metals, even one of her personal weapons. Wook turned. Down everything. Look, he finally said, if it makes you feel better, just remember to help someone else when they need it. Pass it forward, you know? Hana stared at him. Pass it forward? Help the next person who's in trouble. Maybe they'll help someone else later. That's how we make the galaxy a better place. This seemed to confuse her even more. She left him to rest, but Wook could see her thinking hard about what he had said. Over the next few days, as Wook recovered, Hana visited him often. She asked many questions about human culture, human values, human ways of thinking. Some of her questions were strange. Why do humans fight wars? She asked one day. Same reason as everyone else, I guess. Territory, resources, survival. But I have studied your history. Humans fight for ideas too. For freedom, for justice, for people they have never met. Wook thought about it. Yeah, that's true. Sometimes the idea is more important than the practical stuff. This makes no sense. Ideas do not feed your family or protect your home. No, but they make life worth living, Wook said. What's the point of being safe and fed if you're not free? What good is having everything if other people are suffering? Hana was quiet for a long time after that. Another day, she asked about human families. Do you have offspring, Wook? No kids of my own, but I had a daughter once. Adopted her when her parents died in a mining accident. Had? What happened to her? Wook's voice got sad. She grew up and became a doctor, went to help refugees on the outer colonies. We stay in touch, but she has her own life now. You raised a child that was not your blood? Of course, she needed a family. I could provide one. Doesn't matter about blood. Among the Valari, we do adopt children, but only to make them warriors, to strengthen the clan. You adopted this child for love? Why else would you adopt a kid? Again, Hana looked like he had said something that challenged everything she believed. On his last day in the medical bay, Hana came to see him with a serious expression. I have been learning about your species, she said. Your people do things that make no logical sense. You sacrifice for strangers. You fight for ideas. You care for children who are not related to you. You help people without expecting reward. Sounds about right, Wook said. This is very strange to me, but I begin to understand why your species survives despite being so soft. Soft? Wook laughed. I guess we are compared to you. Soft in body, perhaps, but strong in other ways. You have something my people lack. What's that? You fight not just for yourselves, but for the future, for people not yet born, for ideals that may never be achieved. Hana stood up and her voice became formal again. I still owe you a life debt, human Wook. You refuse payment, but my honor demands satisfaction. Hana, really you don't owe me anything. I have decided what I will give you, she continued as if he hadn't spoken. It will take time to arrange, but when I am ready, I will send you a gift worthy of the life debt. I really don't want anything. That is what makes you worthy of it, Hana said. Then she smiled, which was a little scary on a Valari face. Besides, I think you will need it soon. Why? What do you mean? But Hana was already leaving. Be well, human Wook. We will meet again. After she left, Wook sat in bed wondering what she meant. What kind of gift was she planning? And why did she think he would need it? He had no way of knowing that Hana had been watching human news feeds. She had seen the reports of Corvan fleets massing near human space. She had heard the rumors of war coming. The Corvans were planning something big, and they seemed very interested in this small, soft species that fought for strange ideas like freedom and justice. Hana suspected that Wook's peaceful life as a salvage operator was about to end, and when it did, she would make sure he had the best protection in the galaxy, even if he didn't know he needed it yet. Hana stood in the great hall of her clan compound on Kithara Prime. The walls were covered with weapons from 1,000 battles, and the ceiling showed the stars where her ancestors had won glory. But today, she was not thinking about the past. She was thinking about a debt that had to be paid. 4 young Velari women knelt before her in the traditional position of respect. These were her daughters, not born from her body but chosen by her heart. Each one was perfect in her own way, trained from childhood to be the finest warriors in the clan. Nari, the eldest, was a master of strategy and tactics. She could plan a battle like an artist painted a picture, seeing every move before it happened. Her mind was sharp as any blade. Yuna was the weapons master. She could use any tool of war ever made, from ancient swords to modern plasma cannons. In her hands, even a simple stick became deadly. Sola was their best pilot. She could fly anything with engines, making ships dance through space like birds in the wind. No one could catch her when she didn't want to be caught. Rin was the shadow. She could move unseen, strike without warning, and disappear like smoke. Enemies never knew she was there until it was too late. These 4 were Hana's greatest pride, the future of her clan. And now she was going to send them away. "My daughters," Hana began, her voice echoing in the great hall, "you know of the human who saved my life?" "Yes, Mother," they answered together. "I owe him a life debt. The clan elders and I have discussed what payment would be worthy of such a debt." The elders sat in their chairs around the hall, old warriors, who had seen many battles. They nodded their agreement with what was to come. "We have decided," Hana continued, "to send him the greatest gift our clan can offer. We will send him you." The 4 daughters looked up in surprise. This was not what they expected. Nari spoke first as the eldest. "Mother, we do not understand. Are we to be slaves to this human?" "No," Hana said firmly. "You will be his sworn protectors, his lifeguards, his sisters in battle. You will serve him as you serve me, with honor and loyalty." Yuna frowned. "But, Mother, we are Velari warriors. We serve our clan, not aliens." "This human is not like other aliens," Hana explained. "He saved my life without expecting reward. He protected one of our own at risk to himself. He refused payment for his service." "That makes him strange, not worthy," Sola said. Hana smiled. "I thought the same thing at first. But I have learned about humans. They are different from us. They fight not just for themselves, but for others. They protect the weak. They sacrifice for ideals." Rin, who rarely spoke, asked quietly, "Why should we care about human ideals?" "Because war is coming," Hana said, her voice growing serious. "The Corvins are gathering their fleets. They plan to attack human space. And humans, I believe, will need allies who understand their way of thinking." She walked to the great window that looked out over the mountains of Kithara Prime. "Our clan has always been strong because we choose our battles wisely. We ally with those who share our values. Humans may be soft in body, but they are strong in spirit. They have something we need to learn." "What is that, Mother?" Nari asked. "They know how to inspire others, how to make different species work together for a common cause. The galaxy is changing, my daughters. The old ways of fighting alone will not be enough." The elders murmured their agreement. They, too, had seen the reports from the border systems. The Corvins were not just preparing to fight humans. They were building an empire that would threaten everyone. "This human Wook, he will be important in the coming war," Hana continued. "I have seen his heart. He is the kind of person others follow. Others trust. If we protect him, help him, we help our own people too." "You want us to learn from him," Yuna said, understanding now. Yes. Learn what makes humans fight so hard for their beliefs. Learn how they turn enemies into friends. Learn how they make the impossible possible. Sola stood up. And if we do not wish to go? Hana turned to face her daughters. Then you may refuse. I will find another way to pay the debt. But I believe this is the right choice. For him, for our clan, and for you. The four sisters looked at each other. They had been raised to value honor above all else. If their mother believed this was the honorable thing to do, they would trust her judgment. Nari stood and bowed. I will go, mother. If this human is truly worthy, I will serve him with pride. One by one, the others stood and bowed as well. Good, Hana said. But understand, this is not a temporary assignment. You will stay with him as long as he needs you. You will be his family, as you are mine. What if he does not want us? Rin asked. Hana laughed. He will resist at first. Humans do not like to accept help. They think they should handle everything themselves. But you will convince him. Show him your worth through actions, not words. Over the next few days, Hana prepared her daughters for their mission. She told them everything she had learned about human culture. She explained their strange ideas about equality, freedom, and individual worth. They believe all people have value, she said, not just the strong ones. This makes them weak in some ways, but strong in others. How can weakness make them strong? Yuna asked. Because they do not abandon their people. When humans fight, they fight for everyone. This makes them willing to die for each other. It makes them very dangerous enemies. She also told them about Wook specifically. His background as a salvage operator, his simple way of life, his kindness to strangers. He will not order you around like servants, she warned. He will probably try to be your friend. This is normal for humans. Friends with weapons masters. Sola laughed. This should be interesting. Do not underestimate him, Hana said seriously. He may seem soft, but he ran into a dying ship to save Kato. He took a wound meant for someone else. He has the heart of a warrior, even if he does not know it. The night before they left, Hana called each daughter to her privately. To Nari, she said, use your mind to help him see the bigger picture. Humans sometimes get lost in details. To Yuna, she said, teach him to fight, but learn from his mercy. Strength without compassion is just cruelty. To Sola, she said, show him the stars, but let him show you wonder. Humans see beauty where we see only emptiness. To Rin, she said, protect his back, but watch his heart. He will try to sacrifice himself for others. Do not let him. Finally, the day came for them to leave. Hana stood with her daughters at the spaceport, watching their ship being loaded with supplies and weapons. Remember, she said, you go not as my daughters, but as his. Your loyalty is to him now, but never forget what you learned here. We will make you proud, mother, Nari promised. You already have, Hana replied. Now go and make him proud too. As their ship lifted off into the sky of Cathara Prime, Hana wondered if she would ever see them again. War was coming, and wars changed people. Her daughters would not be the same when they returned, but maybe that was good. Maybe they would be something better, something new, something the galaxy needed. Wook was having a quiet morning, fixing his ship's navigation system, when 4 armed aliens appeared at his door. He nearly dropped his wrench when he saw them through the viewport of his salvage vessel. 4 tall, silver-skinned women in combat. Armor stood on the landing platform of New Busan Colony, looking like they could take on an army. Can I help you? He called through the intercom. The tallest one stepped forward. We seek human Wook, salvage operator of the vessel Lucky Strike. That's me. What do you want? We are the daughters of Hana of the Valari. We have come to serve you. Wook opened the airlock and walked out to meet them, still holding his wrench. Up close, they were even more impressive. Each carried weapons that looked like they could blow holes in his ship. Their eyes studied everything around them like they were planning for battle. "Serve me?" "I don't understand." The tall one bowed formally. "I am Nari. These are my sisters, Yuna, Sola, and Rin. Our mother owes you a life debt. We are her payment." "Oh, no," Wook said, remembering his conversation with Hana months ago. No, I told your mother I didn't want anything." "What you want is not important," the shortest one, Rin, said quietly. "Honor demands payment." "Look, this is very nice of your mother, but I can't accept people as payment. That's like slavery." Yuna, who had more weapons than the others, laughed. "We are not slaves, human. We are warriors. We choose to serve you." "But why would you choose that?" Nari answered. "Because our mother says you are worthy. Because you saved her life and ours. Because we owe you a debt of honor." Wook ran his hand through his hair. This was not how he planned to spend his day. "Okay, let's say I accept this, which I'm not saying I am. What exactly would you do?" "Protect you," Sola said. "Fight beside you. Follow you into battle." "I don't fight battles. I'm a salvage operator. I pick up junk in space." The four sisters looked at each other like they weren't sure if he was joking. "Human," Nari said carefully, "are you not aware that your people are at war?" "War? What war?" "The Corvins have been attacking human colonies for 3 months," Yuna said. "Have you not heard the news?" Wook realized he had been so busy with work that he hadn't checked the news feeds in weeks. He invited the sisters into his ship and turned on the communication system. The first thing they heard was an emergency broadcast. "All vessels in the Kepler sector are advised that Corvin raiders have been spotted near the trade routes. Military patrols are stretched thin. Civilian ships should travel in groups and avoid isolated systems." "That explains why shipping has been slow lately," Wook muttered. The next report was worse. "The colony of Haven's Rest has gone silent. Military sources believe it may have been attacked. This would be the 7th human settlement lost to Corvin. Forces this month." Wook sat down heavily. He had friends on Haven's Rest. Good people trying to build a new life on a frontier world. "How bad is it?" he asked. Nari called up a star map on her portable computer. Red markers showed Corvin attacks across human space. There were dozens of them. "Your government is calling for volunteers," she said. "Your people are fighting bravely, but they are outnumbered." "The Corvins have better ships and more soldiers," Yuna added. "But their tactics are simple. They rely on brute force." Wook studied the map. The attacks seemed random at first, but there was a pattern. The Corvins were targeting colonies that were isolated, cutting off trade routes, making it hard for humans to work together. "They're trying to break us apart," he said. "Make us too scared to help each other." "Yes," Nari agreed. "It is a sound strategy against most species, but perhaps not against humans." Before Wook could ask what she meant, alarms started blaring across the colony. Through his ship's viewports, he could see people running and pointing at the sky. "Corvin ships!" someone shouted. "3 destroyers coming in fast!" Wook grabbed his emergency kit and ran outside. The sisters followed, weapons already in their hands. Above them, 3 dark ships were dropping through the atmosphere, their hulls scarred from many battles. "We need to get to the shelters," Wook said. But the sisters were already moving. Nari was talking quickly into a communication device, coordinating with the colony's small defense force. Yuna was setting up a large weapon that she had somehow assembled in seconds. Sola was running toward the spaceport where the colony's few fighters were kept. Rin had simply vanished. "What are you doing?" Wook called after them. "Our job," Nari replied without stopping. The Corvin ships opened fire on the colony's shields. The barriers held for now, but they wouldn't last long against that kind of firepower. The colony only had a few defense turrets and some old patrol ships for protection. Wook watched in amazement as the sisters went to work. Yuna's weapon fired a beam of energy that struck one of the Corvin ships, making it stagger in the air. Sola had somehow gotten into a fighter and was already launching, even though the colony's pilots were still running to their ships. "Human Wook," Nari called to him. "The evacuation shelters are not strong enough. If the shields fail, people will die. Where can we move them?" Wook looked around the colony. Most of the buildings were prefabricated structures that wouldn't survive. A direct hit. But there was one place. "The old mine," he said. "Deep underground, natural rock walls. But it's on the other side of the colony." "How many people?" "About 3,000. Nari didn't hesitate. "We can do this, but we need time." Above them, Sola's fighter was dancing between the Corvin ships, somehow avoiding their fire while drawing them away from the colony. Her flying was like nothing Wook had ever seen, making impossible turns and using the asteroids in orbit as cover. "I'll help with the evacuation," Wook said. "No," Nari said firmly. "You are too important to risk." "Important? I'm just a salvage operator. You are the one our mother sent us to protect." But Wook was already running toward the residential area where families were huddled in their homes, too scared to move. He started knocking on doors, explaining about the mine, helping people gather their children and belongings. The sisters tried to stop him at first, but they quickly realized that people listened to him. He was one of them, a neighbor they trusted. When Wook said to go to the mine, they went. As they worked to evacuate the colony, Wook saw what made the sisters so special. Nari turned the panicked evacuation into an organized retreat, with people moving in groups along protected routes. Yuna's weapons kept the Corvin ships busy while the civilians moved. Sola's flying was legendary, one small fighter somehow holding off 3 destroyers. And Rin appeared in impossible places, always where she was needed most. One moment she was helping carry wounded people, the next she was somehow on one of the Corvin ships and their weapons stopped working. But what impressed Wook most was how they adapted to working with humans. They didn't just give orders like most alien warriors would. They listened to what people needed. They worked together instead of just fighting. The evacuation took 2 hours. Just as the last group reached the mine, the colony's shields finally failed. The Corvin ships moved in for the final attack. That's when something unexpected happened. Ships began appearing in space around the colony. Human ships answering the distress call. Freighters, miners, even some personal vehicles, all armed with whatever weapons they could find. "The cavalry arrives," Wook said, watching from the mine entrance. "Cavalry?" Nari asked. "Military term. It means help when you need it most." The battle that followed was chaotic but effective. The human ships worked together like they had been practicing for years, each captain knowing exactly what the others would do. They surrounded the Corvin destroyers and attacked from all sides. Sola's fighter joined the formation, and suddenly the humans were flying like a team instead of individuals. The Corvins, used to fighting against divided enemies, couldn't handle the coordinated assault. Within an hour, all 3 Corvin ships were destroyed or fleeing. As people celebrated in the mine, Nari approached Wook. "We understand now," she said. "Understand what?" "Why our mother sent us to you. Humans do not just fight for themselves. They fight for each other. And somehow you helped them remember that." Wook looked around at the people he had helped save. Families holding each other, neighbors checking on neighbors. Strangers who had become friends during the crisis. "I just did what anyone would do," he said. "No," Yuna said, joining them. "You did what humans do, and that makes all the difference." For the first time since they arrived, Wook began to understand why Hana had sent her daughters to him. The war wasn't just about weapons and ships. It was about the kind of people who would fight to protect others. And maybe, just maybe, he was one of those people after all. 6 months after the attack on New Busan, Wook found himself in command of a resistance cell operating from a hidden base in the Gamma sector. It was not a role he had wanted, but somehow he had become the person that humans and aliens alike turned to when they needed help. The four sisters had become his closest advisors and friends, though they still insisted on calling him Commander despite his protests. They had changed during their time with humans, becoming something new while staying true to their Velari nature. Nari had learned to value creativity over rigid planning. She still made brilliant strategies, but now she included ideas from everyone, even civilians. Her latest plan involved using merchant ships to create a mobile supply network that the Corvins couldn't track. Yuna had discovered that protecting was more satisfying than conquering. She trained human volunteers in combat, adapting Velari fighting, techniques for smaller, weaker bodies. Her students adored her, even though she still scared them sometimes. Sola had found joy in rescue missions instead of destruction. She had modified her fighter to carry medical supplies and evacuation equipment. Her flying skills had saved hundreds of people from Corvin attacks. Rin had learned to trust her team instead of working alone. She still disappeared for days at a time on secret missions, but now she always came back with information that helped everyone. And Wook had learned that he was not just a simple salvage operator anymore. Whether he wanted it or not, he had become a leader. The kind of person who made hard decisions and lived with the consequences. Today's mission was their most dangerous yet. Intelligence reports said the Corvins were holding human prisoners on a prison ship called the Iron Fang. Among them were civilians from the colony of Haven's Rest, including children. The ship is heavily guarded, Nari explained, showing them the tactical display. 6 escort vessels, full marine complement, positioned in the asteroid field near Sigma Base. They're using it as bait, Wook said. They want us to try a rescue, so they can destroy us. Probably, Yuna agreed. But we cannot leave those people. That was the human way of thinking that the sisters had adopted. No one gets left behind, no matter the cost. The escorts are the problem, Sola said, studying the ship formations. I can get us close, but not through 6 destroyers. What if the destroyers were not there? Rin asked quietly. They all looked at her. Rin's quiet questions usually meant she had an idea that was either brilliant or completely insane. Explain, Wook said. Corvin commanders are proud. They respond to challenges. What if we gave them something they could not ignore? Nari's eyes lit up. A target too valuable to pass up. Like what? Yuna asked. Rin smiled, which was never a good sign. Like the human who destroyed 3 of their ships at New Busan. It took Wook a moment to realize she meant him. You want to use me as bait? Not just you, Nari said, understanding the plan now. All of us. We attack the main base at Sigma with just our ship. The Corvins will think we are either crazy or desperate. Either way, they will bring their entire fleet to crush us. While the escorts are gone, a second team rescues the prisoners, Sola finished. It's a good plan, Wook admitted, except for the part where we all die. We will not die, Yuna said confidently. We are Velari warriors, and you are our human. Your human, our responsibility, our honor, our family. That word hit Wook harder than he expected. Family. These 4 deadly aliens had become his family, and he had become theirs. They would follow him into certain death without hesitation, just as he would for them. All right, he said. Let's save some people. The plan worked perfectly at first. When their single ship appeared near Sigma Base and started attacking the outer defenses, the Corvin response was exactly what they expected. Every available ship rushed to intercept them, including the escorts from the prison ship. Sola's flying kept them alive during the running battle that followed. She threaded their ship through asteroid fields and debris clouds, using every trick she had learned in months of fighting. The Corvins followed, firing everything they had. Meanwhile, a team of human volunteers led by Captain Lee infiltrated the prison ship. They found exactly what the intelligence reports had said. 300 human prisoners, including 47 children from Haven's Rest. But they also found something the reports had missed. The Corvins were not just holding prisoners. They were experimenting on them, trying to understand what made humans so difficult to defeat. "They're studying us like lab animals," Captain Lee reported over the comm. "Trying to figure out our psychology, our social bonds, everything." "Are the prisoners in condition to move?" Wook asked while Sola spun their ship away from another missile barrage. "Most of them, yes. But some are in bad shape. We need medical support." "Negative. Get everyone you can and get out. We'll handle the wounded." It was a hard decision, but it was the right one. Save who they could now, worry about the rest later. The rescue went smoothly until the very end. Just as the last prisoner was being evacuated, the Corvins realized they had been tricked. Half their fleet turned around and raced back to the prison ship. "Company coming," Nari announced, watching the sensor readings. Wook made another hard decision. "Tell the rescue team to go. We'll buy them time." "How?" Yuna asked. "We cannot fight half a fleet." "We don't have to fight them. We just have to keep them busy." Sola turned their ship toward the approaching Corvin fleet. Behind them, the ships carrying the rescued prisoners disappeared into hyperspace, heading for safety. "What now, Commander?" Rin asked. Wook looked at his chosen family, these 4 warriors who had given up everything to follow him. "Now we do what humans do best. Which is? We make the impossible possible." The battle that followed became legend in human space. One small ship, crewed by 3 humans and 4 Valari, held off an entire Corvin fleet for 3 hours. They used every dirty trick, every desperate tactic, every crazy idea they could think of. Nari coordinated their defenses while jamming Corvin communications. Yuna overloaded their weapons to fire beyond safe limits. Sola flew patterns that should have been impossible. Rin somehow got aboard a Corvin ship and destroyed its engines from the inside, and Wook did what he always did. He made sure everyone else got home safe. When their ship finally died, its engines destroyed and life support failing, they were alone in space with no way to escape. The Corvins moved in for the final kill. That's when the miracle happened. Ships began appearing all around them. Not just human ships, but vessels from a dozen different species. Traders who owed Wook favors, colonies he had helped. Even some Valari ships, following their own code of honor. "This is Captain Torres of the Free Traders Alliance," a voice said over the comm. "Nobody kills our people while we're around." The battle that followed was everything the Corvins had not expected. Instead of facing one species fighting alone, they found themselves surrounded by a coalition united by common cause. "How did they all get here?" Nari asked in amazement. "Word travels fast in space," Wook said, "especially when people care about each other." The Corvan fleet retreated, unable to handle the unexpected alliance. For the first time in the war, they had been forced to run from inferior numbers. As rescue ships picked up Wook and the sisters, Yuna asked, "How did you know they would come?" "I didn't," Wook admitted. "But I hoped they would. That's what humans do. We hope for the best and prepare for the worst. And when hope is not enough, then we make more hope. We show others that it's possible to do the right thing, even when it's hard." Nari looked at the fleet of ships from different worlds, all working together to help strangers. "This is what our mother saw," she said. "This is why she sent us to you." "What do you mean? You do not just fight for humans. You fight for everyone. And somehow, you make everyone want to fight for you, too." As they headed home, Wook realized that the war was changing. It was no longer just humans against Corvins. It was becoming something bigger, a coalition of species that believed in protecting the innocent and helping the weak. And at the center of it all were the bonds of friendship and loyalty that turned strangers into family, enemies into allies, and impossible dreams into reality. The Corvins had made one crucial mistake. They had assumed that all species were like them, fighting only for themselves. They had not counted on humans who fought for others, and they certainly had not counted on what happened when humans taught other species to do the same. The final battle for Earth began at dawn on a Tuesday. Wook stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship Harmony, watching through the viewports as the largest fleet in galactic history assembled around humanity's homeworld. Ships from 50 different species floated in formation, their crews united by a common purpose, to stop the Corvin Empire once and for all. Beside him, the four sisters prepared for what might be their last battle together. They had been with him for 2 years now, and the scared young warriors who had first appeared at his door were gone. In their place stood confident leaders who had helped forge an alliance that no one thought possible. Corvin fleet detected, at the edge of the system. Nari reported from the tactical station. She wore the uniform of an Alliance commander now, her strategies having saved countless lives in dozens of battles. 3,000 ships. They mean to end this today. So, do we? Wook replied. The Corvin Empire had finally decided that humans were too dangerous to exist. Their ideas about cooperation and sacrifice were spreading to other species, threatening the Empire's control. If they could destroy Earth and scatter humanity, they believed the Alliance would fall apart. They were probably right, which was why Earth could not fall. Incoming transmission from the Corvin flagship, Yuna announced. She commanded the Alliance's weapon systems now, having taught 100 species how to fight together instead of alone. Put it through. The main screen filled, with the face of Admiral Krath, Supreme Commander of the Corvin forces. He was typical of his species. Large, scarred, with eyes like cold metal. Human Wook, he said, speaking the name like a curse. You have caused much trouble for the Empire. I've tried my best, Wook replied calmly. Your resistance ends today. Surrender Earth, and we will allow your people to live as slaves. Refuse, and we will burn your world to ash. Wook looked around the bridge at his crew. Humans and aliens working side by side, all of them volunteers who had chosen to be here. Behind them, through the viewports, he could see the ships of the Alliance fleet. Each one represented a species that had decided to fight for something bigger than themselves. Counteroffer, Wook said. You can surrender to us, and we'll let you live in exile. Refuse, and we'll show you what happens when free people fight for their homes. Admiral Krath laughed. Your little alliance will scatter the moment we show our true strength. You have taught them to be weak, to care about each other. That caring will be their downfall. Guess we'll find out, Wook said, and cut the transmission. The battle began moments later. The Corvin fleet advanced in perfect formation, their ships moving like parts of a single machine. They had overwhelming numbers and superior firepower. By every military calculation, they should have won easily. But they had not counted on what the Alliance had become. Sola led the fighter squadrons in their first attack, her ship dancing through enemy fire like it was choreographed. Behind her flew pilots from 20 different worlds, all of them trained in her techniques. They fought not as individuals, but as a single unit, each pilot knowing exactly where the others would be. First wave successful, she reported. Enemy formation disrupted. The Corvin ships regrouped quickly, but their perfect order was broken, and once the Alliance fleet engaged them in close combat, their numerical advantage became less important. Human ships worked in partnership with Valari warriors. Traders used their knowledge of hyperspace routes to appear where the enemy least expected. Even civilian vessels joined the fight, using mining equipment and construction tools as weapons. Admiral Krath was right about one thing, Nari said, coordinating the battle from her command center. Caring about each other is making us weak. What do you mean? Wook asked. Watch Sector 7. On the tactical display, Wook could see what she meant. A group of Alliance ships had broken formation to rescue the crew of a damaged vessel. It left a gap in their defensive line that the Corvins immediately exploited. But then something beautiful happened. Other ships moved to fill the gap, risking themselves to protect the rescuers. The Corvins found themselves facing not a weakness, but a strength they could not understand. They keep helping each other, Yuna observed, even when it is tactically foolish. That's not foolish, Wook said. That's human. And it was spreading. Over the past 2 years, the Alliance had learned to fight the human way, not just with weapons and tactics, but with trust and sacrifice. Species that had been enemies for centuries now worked together like old friends. The tide of battle turned when Rin completed her most impossible mission yet. While the fleets fought in space, she had somehow infiltrated the Corvin flagship and taken control of their command systems. Corvin Fleet Command is compromised, she reported in her quiet voice. Their ships cannot coordinate. Without central coordination, the Corvin advantage in numbers became a disadvantage. Their ships started getting in each other's way, firing on their own forces, creating chaos in their ranks. But Admiral Krath had one final card to play. As his fleet fell apart around him, he turned his flagship toward Earth itself. If I cannot rule this galaxy, he broadcast to all ships, then I will destroy what threatens my empire. His massive ship broke through the Alliance defensive line, heading straight for humanity's homeworld. Its weapons were powerful enough to crack continents, to turn the planet into a lifeless rock. Wook made the hardest decision of his life. All ships, this is Commander Wook. Protect the fleet. I'm going after the flagship. No, Nari said immediately. We go together. It's too dangerous. That ship can destroy us with one shot. Then we had better make our shot count, Yuna said, already powering up their weapons. Commander, Sola said, her hands dancing over the pilot controls. Where we go, you go. That is what family means. Rin said nothing, but she appeared on the bridge and stood beside his chair. Her presence said everything. They took their ship, the Lucky Strike II, and raced after the Corvin flagship. Behind them, the Alliance fleet followed, unwilling to let their leader face the danger alone. The final confrontation took place in Earth's orbit, with humanity's blue-green homeworld as a backdrop. The Lucky Strike II, tiny compared to the Corvin. Behemoth darted between the flagship's weapons, looking for a weak point. There, Nari said, highlighting a section on the tactical display. The reactor access port. If we can get inside, I'll get us there, Sola promised. What followed was the most insane piece of flying in galactic history. Sola took their ship through the Corvin flagship's defensive fire, weaving between energy beams and missile barrages, using the larger ship's own weapons as cover. Yuna fired their guns with perfect precision, not trying to destroy the enemy ship, but to carve a path through its armor. Each shot was exactly where it needed to be, opening the way forward. And when they finally reached the reactor access port, it was Wook who took the final risk. He left the ship in a combat suit, carrying a fusion charge that would overload the flagship's power systems. Wait, Rin said, following him. You cannot do this alone. Yes, I can. Someone needs to fly the ship out of here, and someone needs to watch your back. Together, they infiltrated the massive Corvin ship. Rin cleared the path while Wook planted the charges. They had maybe 5 minutes before the reactor went critical. They almost made it back to their ship in time. A Corvin Marine squad caught them just before the airlock. Wook threw himself between the enemy and Rin, taking several hits that should have killed him. But his armor held, and Rin's return fire cleared the corridor. They stumbled back aboard the Lucky Strike II just as the charges detonated. The Corvin flagship began tearing itself apart from the inside, its massive bulk tumbling toward Earth's atmosphere, where it would burn up harmlessly. Admiral Krath, Wook said into his communicator, as their ship limped away from the dying flagship. I told you what happens when free people fight for their homes. There was no answer. The Corvan admiral had gone down with his ship, as was his tradition. With their flagship destroyed and their fleet scattered, the remaining Corvan forces retreated. The war was over, but Wook barely noticed. He was losing consciousness from his wounds, the same way he had when Hana first saved him. He woke up 3 days later in a hospital on Earth, surrounded by the four sisters and more flowers than he had ever seen in one place. "The war is over," Nari told him. "The Corvan Empire has agreed to peace terms." "What kind of terms?" "They keep their remaining territory," Yuna explained, "but they cannot attack other species, and they must accept Alliance observers to ensure they follow the agreement. Most importantly," Sola added, "they must release all their slaves and prisoners. Freedom for everyone." Wook smiled weakly. "That's very human of us." "Yes," Rin said quietly. "It is." A few days later, when Wook was strong enough to travel, they had a visitor. Hana herself arrived on Earth, looking exactly as impressive as she had 2 years earlier. "My daughters tell me the debt has been paid," she said, standing formally. "In the hospital room. More than paid," Wook replied. "I owe them everything." "No," Hana said. "We are all in your debt now. You have shown us a new way to live. A better way." She gestured to the four sisters. "They may return to Kithara Prime if they wish. The debt is fulfilled." Wook looked at Nari, Yuna, Sola, and Rin. These four warriors, who had become his family, his closest friends, his partners in the impossible.